Hey, it's Dr. Jan. And have you ever felt like you have to walk on eggshells and are on pins and needles at the workplace because your boss is a bully? Well, today we're going to talk about three strategies if you have a bully boss. And I'm here to tell you that unfortunately, you're not alone in that. According to the Workplace Bullying Institute, about 61% of bosses are bullies. And that's a pretty big number. So, a lot of us who have been bullied actually by our boss. And so, if that's happening for you, this is a video you're going to want to watch. So, first off, if you don't know if you're being bullied, I'm going to leave a link down below to my self assessment, which will let you take a survey basically or an assessment that will help you determine if you're being bullied. That's the first step, is making sure and figuring out exactly what's happening to you. But what do you do if your boss is a bully? Because that really changes everything. Because generally, if you have a problem with someone in your workplace and you try to resolve it with them and it doesn't work, you go up the chain of command or you go up the ladder, the hierarchy, right? So you go to that person. If it doesn't work, then you go to your supervisor, or then you go to their supervisor, and you go to HR. Okay, but what happens if your boss is a bully? Because then when you don't really have any bureaucratic procedures to follow, or you can follow them, but the likelihood that anything will get resolved is significantly less. So the first thing you have to do is you have to do a mind shift from, hey, this is going to get resolved, to this is something that I have to manage. So again, when you have conflict in the workplace and you go up that chain of command or you go up the ladder, it can get resolved. But if your boss is the bully and you have workplace bullying, there's less chance of resolution. And that's because workplace bullying is significantly more complicated and we don't have a good understanding of it. And people generally believe that if there's a problem in the workplace, that people can resolve it. And that's generally true unless it's workplace bullying. Okay, you just can't resolve it because it's not a you issue, it's an organizational issue. So you have to take your mind shift away from somebody's going to come in and stop this, to making sure that you can mitigate and reduce the trauma. So you're taking that mind shift from somebody's going to solve it to what is it that you can do. That's the first step. Okay, and it might take you some time to really wrap your head around that, but honestly, taking that mind shift from somebody's going to fix this problem to I can manage it the best way possible is actually a really good step. So even if somebody could come in, or maybe there's a change in leadership or something happens and somebody does come in, it's very important, no matter if your boss is a bully or your colleague is a bully, that you realize that the most powerful person in the workplace for you is you. And when you learn how to use strategies to mitigate the harm of workplace bullying, you're actually gaining a lot of self empowerment, which is good in any workplace. Okay, so the first step is changing your mindset from somebody's going to come in and stop this to I have to deal with it and manage it myself. Okay, and so of course that leads me to the second strategy is you have to learn how to mitigate the trauma by changing how you respond to bullying. Okay? This isn't blaming you for the bullying. You didn't do anything to be bullied, and no one deserves to be bullied. But a lot of times, how you might be responding to the bully is actually increasing and making you more vulnerable. Okay? And I'm speaking from experience. I did a lot of things that actually made me be bullied more, not less. So you have to develop strategies to de-escalate and not respond to the bully in a way that might make you more vulnerable. And the best way that you can figure out how you're responding is to document. So you document what's happening to you, but you also document how you're responding. So here's an example, is a lot of times people become extremely defensive, and I'm not saying it's not justified, when the bully comes after them. So they defend their behavior when they're being accused of not doing their job. Again, 100% understandable. But when you become defensive to the bully and you start rationalizing and justifying what you're doing, that is essentially a green flag for the bully to keep bullying you. And then what also happens is when other people see you becoming defensive, that often allows them or gives them the red light to jump on the bandwagon with the bully, and they feel like then they can bully you. So never under any circumstances become defensive. What you can do is, again, replace those strategies with other things. So you never need to become defensive under any circumstances. Does anyone need to defend what they're doing? Okay, instead of becoming defensive, what you can do is learn strategies like, oh, I hear what you're saying. Oh, that's interesting. So let me give you kind of a, if you just will bear with me, I'm going to do a little role play with myself here. Okay, so let's say the bully comes into me and says, Jan, your paperwork is late, and I'm really getting tired of it being late, and I want your paperwork on my desk at 5 p.m. every night before you go home. So when you're being accused, like my boss was accusing me of not having my paperwork done, we have a tendency to want to defend what we're doing. So I could say, well, I do have my paperwork on your desk. I always have my paperwork on your desk. Look, it's right there. And it's 4:44. Okay. And then again, because I'm trying to defend my behavior, that I've already done it. But rather than that, because you know your paperwork is there. I know my paperwork is there. Okay. And what my boss is really doing is they're on a fishing expedition to try to get me to take the bait to hook me into a back and forth so they can bully me more and they can show people that I'm a troublemaker. So even though I know my paperwork is already on my boss's desk, it's well before 5 o'clock, I'm not even going to engage in that conversation. What I'm going to say, and what I recommend that you do, is develop strategies like this, is to say, yes, my paperwork needs to be on your desk by 5 o'clock. Thank you, right? You're not escalating anything, but you're confirming that you've heard what they said. You're not defending your behavior. You're not saying that you already have your paperwork on there. All you're doing is repeating back what they said, okay? And when you do those sorts of things, it's much more difficult for them to engage in the back and forth, right? Because that's what a bully really likes. They like to throw the hook, throw out their fishing line, and they want you to get hooked and take the bait so they can really into their game of bullying. You can learn strategies not to get reeled in, okay? And it's going to take some practice, some trial and error. But if you take your documentation, again, to look at those high-risk times where you're most vulnerable, and if you've documented and you've included how you respond, you're going to see when you have responded in a way that increases the bullying rather than decreases it. Again, just for the record, you're not at fault for the bullying. You're not at fault at how you respond. But now that you know that sometimes the way we do respond isn't in our best interest, it makes us more vulnerable to more bullying and more trauma, you can change how you respond, take back control, okay, and empower yourself to reduce the traumatic effects of workplace bullying. So the third thing that is really important when you're looking at having a boss for a bully is two things. Okay, we're going to do an A and a B. A is making sure that you're taking care of yourself at work. You need to have things every day that you can look forward to. So you need to have a work self-care plan. So that might be getting coffee. I love coffee. So I like to get a cup of coffee if I can. And I did that during the day. I listened to music that was relaxing, that calmed me down. Okay. Sometimes if I could, I would listen to a book while I was working. Okay. I had the luxury of doing that. So do some self care things for you every day at work. So, at 12:05, that's when you're going to take your lunch break. You're going to eat your lunch, and then you're going to walk to the coffee shop and get a cup of coffee. Those things seem minor, but they're mighty important when you're in an abusive workplace. The other things too is if you can find strategic or supportive allies, your coworkers, and if there's nobody in your own department, you can look further out than that. Okay. And you can find people that you can work together to reduce the harm. So you might develop a safety plan, right? If you need to get out of difficult situations, that supportive or strategic ally can help you. Okay. And I think I have talked about this before, and I'll link that video down below. But if you can have people that you can talk to and trust, okay, you can't have a strategic ally that you think is going to the bully. And you need to have a process for screening them. Okay. Because a lot of times bystanders can be tricky people. And they're often chameleons. So they might say to your face that they're supportive, but then they go behind your back and complain to HR or complain to the bully about you. So you have to have supportive allies that you can actually trust. But if you utilize these strategies, and again, these are not strategies that just targets can use. These are also strategies that HR can use if their boss is the bully. Okay. And these are strategies that HR can use if they have colleagues or other people who are being bullied or are bullying them. So these strategies are very, very effective in helping you reduce the trauma from workplace bullying. So the first one is you have to develop a mindset shift from you're going to be able to stop the bullying to you're going to mitigate it and reduce the harm. Then what you're going to do is you're going to look at your documentation and develop strategies that help you remain calm, keep you can de-escalate situations with the bully. You're not going to go into the back and forth and get reeled in. And there are a lot of minor ways that you can mitigate the trauma and respond differently to bullying than you would ever imagine when you start to think about those things. The third thing, the third A and B, is you're going to develop a self-care plan at work. Those things seem minor, but they are really, really important because when you're being abused at work, trust me, I know I've been there, is you feel like you're walking into a minefield, let alone walking on eggshells. You feel like you never know when things are going to blow up, and that causes stress. Okay. And having little things, even small things that you enjoy, that you can look forward to every day, helps you mitigate the trauma and helps you better deal with the workplace bullying. And the other thing too is you can develop strategic and supportive allies that can help you reduce the trauma. And I'll put some links to some articles and to that self-assessment down below. And if you have any questions, let me know. Thank you.